Let's welcome in Michael Yee. He's the equity analyst covering the biotech sector for Jefferies. Michael, great to see you. So skepticism or just valuation concerns?
No, I think what Meg was alluding to is right. I think that in the biotech community, there seems to be a bit of overexuberance and a lot of enthusiasm for this. But at the end of the day, this was just a piece of the data set. In the biotech world, while there's enthusiasm, we understand that, there's not going to be a huge financial benefit for Gilead. And so that also probably tames some of the excitement. I think the stock probably pulls back just a little bit because this is probably overdone and maybe expectations are a little bit high going into this data coming up.
So you're saying even in the best case scenario for this drug, you don't think Gilead's going to make a lot of money from it?
I think that the key part about Remdesivir is, while this is going to be fantastic if we can get a drug to patients, to the world, I think that's obviously fantastic. I think that Gilead has been pretty clear that they don't plan to make billions and billions of dollars off of this. It's more really about, from a stock picking perspective, what I've been talking about before, that both Gilead and the pharmaceutical industry could benefit both from a reminder about the innovation and the importance of what we're doing, and also that, of course, drug pricing legislation probably isn't coming anytime soon.
So it's interesting because, like you said, I mean, at this time, the outrage if they charged anything too much for this drug would just be unimaginable. But at the same time, people are reminded we rely on these companies for these kinds of innovations. The drug pricing legislation, like you said, is probably done, so it's a positive for the whole sector. Would there be any other companies, the Modernas, the others who are trying to come up with these vaccines that you think are in a better position, either valuation-wise or in terms of the science, for people who want to bet on coronavirus, basically? Yeah.
So, well, I think that the data coming out on Remdesivir will be construed positive, and I do think over the rest of the year, reiterating the buy on Gilead, I think that stock is moving up. We're also focusing on Regeneron. Regeneron, which is buy rating here at Jefferies, has been a great stock, and they also have a coronavirus COVID-19 treatment that will begin later this year. We're quite optimistic about that science, so that data will be reading out. That's a much improved story as well. And then Moderna, look, I think that the street will probably construe that data on that first initial data set on the vaccine positively in this year. All of this leads us to be a little bit more optimistic about the biopharma space for the rest of this year. Final
question, Michael, for someone who knows the science of this very well right now, what would you tell the rest of the public about when we should realistically expect a treatment and when we should realistically expect a vaccine? Because all of these reopening plans hinge a lot on this.
Yeah. Number one, on the treatment landscape, we do think that Remdesivir, pending this data coming up, is going to be positive enough that it will get out there. There will be expanded use, but unfortunately it is a hospital-based infusion, so it's going to be relegated to that part of the market. We do think that going forward, sort of a vaccine is probably going to be either Moderna or J&J. But for the public use of that, it's very clear, I think, that this is going to be at least 2021, if not 2022, to even have a potential to be broadly used in the public. And I think Dr. Fauci, I think others understand that. So we would warn people not to get too overexcited about that.
Right.
Markets seem to want to be optimistic these days.
Yeah, I mean, especially if that vaccine isn't broadly used till 2022, that would be sobering news. So let me actually sneak one more in finally on the testing, which we're all hoping becomes more and more widespread. I know it's not necessarily your main focus area, but what's your sense for how quickly we can ramp up to have capacity of something like 1 million of these tests a week?
Yeah, well, I think there's two parts. One is, of course, the importance of testing for the virus, which I know that they're putting a lot of pressure on the administration to get out there, because we shouldn't have people out there unless they're easily tested and know that they have the virus or could be infectious. That's part one. And I know that's ramping up significantly. If you listen to Dr. Fauci yesterday, over the next month or two or three, certainly by the fall, that should be plenty. And then the second part, which I think is longer term but extremely important, is the antibody testing to test those who have been infected previously. That is starting to get out there. I think 1 million tests, a week or whatever you suggested is going to take some time, but that's the second wave, and that's also important, which leads us back to the pending tests, the pending therapeutics. All of this, I think, is good news, and we're going to work our way out of this over the rest of this year.